Hello, I'm Pastor Jeremy Combs, and we're going to pause for a proverb. Let's go. We're in Proverbs chapter 6, and we're going to look at verses 27 and 28 to get started. Can a man take fire into his bosom and his clothes not be burned? Can one go upon hot coals and his feet not be burned? You know, in Bible days, fire was both a necessity and a great danger that people lived with every day. They used fire, of course, to heat their homes, to cook their food. Even they had to sanitize their water. We use heat in the same way today, but with obviously much safer means as we've had the technological advances to do so. Still, there's always the dangers of in your kitchen. You think of a grease fire, you think of cords that are overheating, happens especially in these cold snaps, and also great electrical surges. We therefore, even in our homes today, we've got to be diligent with how we handle fire or electricity. The basics of this verse is simple. It's don't play with fire. God's designed us as sexual beings by placing a desire for the opposite sex within us. This desire is nothing to be ashamed of, but it must be placed within the boundaries of God's law, which is this: his boundaries are marriage. As fire outside of a burn pit is dangerous, so is intimacy outside of marriage. So be pure today and save yourself for your marriage partner and them alone. It's the greatest of joys to be able to share yourself with your spouse and with them alone. So don't play with fire. Keep it where it needs to be. Proverbs chapter 6 and verse number 29 says this: So he that goeth into his neighbor's wife, whoso touches her, shall not be innocent. That's pretty clear, isn't it? Men do not despise a thief if he steal to satisfy his soul when he's hungry. But if he be found, he shall restore sevenfold. He shall give all the substance of his house. As a society today, we have at best tolerated sin, and at worst, we have fostered it. We've nurtured it. Many excuse their immoral behavior by making statements like, well, we just got carried away, or in the heat of the moment. No, the fact of the matter is that sin is not accidental. Sin is a choice. In fact, it's often a series of choices. Immorality doesn't just happen. It begins with a look, and then we begin to covet what we do not have, which then leads to lust and so forth. This is why Solomon says the immoral person is not innocent. We may excuse the decision to steal if a man is hungry, but even then, the Bible clearly says that restitution must be made. It's got to be made sevenfold. In fact, we find that he would even sometimes have to sell himself or other things in the home to make that restitution. Our government today doesn't collect sevenfold, but I tell you what, God does. When we do wrong, we need to make it right. So really clearly, this is kind of wrapping up the idea of immorality, and it's reminding us that sin is, number one, inexcusable, and number two, it can be very expensive as well. Let's look at one more verse, Proverbs chapter 6 and verse 32. But whoso committeth adultery with a woman lacketh understanding. He that doeth it destroyeth his own soul. Why does God and his word take such a rigid stance on adultery? Past generations would cry out for the right for free love back in the 60s and 70s. God does permit us to love freely. Well, they were definitely true about that. But we must choose to decide who we love in this life. That doesn't mean that we get off free without any consequences. Here, Solomon continues to fill out the rap sheet on adultery with two more charges or consequences that come. First, immorality exposes you. Specifically, exposes your relationship with God. It's interesting that the words committeth adultery doesn't just mean adultery, but also apostasy. Well, why is that? Remember, marriage is a vow between a husband, a wife, and also God. Don't forget that third part. And any part we play in destroying that process is an act against God, meaning we are not right with him. Adultery exposes, but it also executes or destroys your soul. Adultery destroys God's covenant, which is marriage, and it desecrates his temple, which is your body. And so make sure, if you're around fire, Don't play with it. Be safe. God bless you. We'll see you next time.